The Australian Open has officially begun. The qualifiers are happening as I record this. And I made some comments the other day about the draw, the men's draw. And I wanted to get into some more detail on this men's draw. The first round is going to start, really almost momentarily. And so we still have time to comment about this, and I want folks to understand just what the matchups might be. So what are some of the interesting matches that we could see in this draw? Again, the whole thing is set up for a Federer versus Nadal final, and that I'm going to make some predictions about this Australian Open as we get into this video, and it's not going to be a very long video, but and I will stand on those predictions with the reservation that as I see some of these players get into action, I might have to modify this a little bit. But you can say that the thing is set up for a Nadal-Federer Federer final. It's also kind of set up for a Federer versus Zverev semifinal, as well as something like a Rafael Nadal Dimitrov semifinal. And those may very well happen. I have my reservations about how far Grigor Dimitrov is going to go. I do think Nadal is capable of reaching the semifinals, but again, we're going to have to see. We're going to just have to see how he's moving. He seems to be fine, but there's going to be some evidence in these early matches. I think, and I differ with my friend Matt Bradshaw over at Coffee Break Tennis, I think we very well might see a Rafael Nadal versus Jack Sock semifinal. And that right here is my prediction for one of the semifinals. But in terms of other interesting quarterfinals, you could see a Rafael Nadal, a Marin Cilic, and in a quarterfinal, you could see the Dimitrov versus Jack Sock. I mean, I think, in fact, that Sock will take Dimitrov and get to the semifinal. So my first prediction is Nadal versus Sock in the first of the two semifinals. In the second of the two semifinals, we've got Djokovic that will possibly be meeting Federer in the semifinal, as far as in terms of how I've got the draw right here, and it's fairly easy. You got to look at it for a little while, but it's fairly easy to read, and so I very much appreciate the Australian Open for providing these printouts. But you could very well see a Federer versus a Djokovic, but that's not my prediction. My prediction, and this may have to be revised. Again, we're going to have to see how Stan Wawrinka is playing. This is it's very crucial, but I think we could very well see a Federer versus Zverev, Alexander Zverev, that is, semifinal. So, but in terms of, there's going to be all sorts of interesting matchups. But just for the record here, and I don't have a lot of time today, but for here, my prediction on this day at this moment is Nadal versus Sock in the first semifinal, and then finally Federer versus Alexander Zverev in the second semifinal. I think Roger Federer will prevail against Alexander Zverev in the first semifinal, and I think that Rafael Nadal will prevail over Jack Sock, likely in the second semifinal. Although, I think, again, I differ with my friend Matt Bradshaw here. I think Sock is a talent, and his personality, I guess, kind of rubs some people the wrong way, but, I think with tennis, the personality matters. And Sock has, again, this sort of, he's easygoing, he talks, he plays jokes, he laughs. he's really sort of honest and straightforward about who he is, and he's just and I really appreciate that about his personality. And I think to match that, he's got a devastating tennis game, and he has one of his first major titles last year, so he is primed to do it, and I think quite capable. So, pending some other possible revisions, those are my predictions. Please tell me what your predictions are and what you think of otherwise of the draw. But again, we've got so much talent. I mean, a lot of people will say, that you could see something like maybe a Jack Sock versus Kyrgios quarterfinal, which could be very, very interesting, and maybe Kyrgios. I'm not a big fan of Nick Kyrgios for the main reason just that, he doesn't seem to love the game of tennis. And you can kind of, even though he's got that big, just totally devastating serve that is sort of reminiscent of Pete Sampras, as Coffee Break Tennis was saying, or they were quoting someone else as saying. But I'm not a big fan of his because I don't think he's got that love for the game. And I think ultimately that ambivalent, commitment to the game is what will hurt Nick Kyrgios for the rest of his career until he gets his mindset together, until maybe he decides to love tennis. I don't know whether you can decide to love tennis. You either do or you don't. But those are my predictions. They are soft predictions, and I will vary them as we go a little bit without seeming like I'm just trying to slip out from under these. I will stand on these basic predictions. I mean, my one, you've got Del Potro. You've got Del Potro that has given you got David Goffin or Del Potro. Federer will have to face one of them. Possibly in the quarterfinal, in fact. And, I'm confident about Federer, but you do have another, couple of these other players that are very talented, very capable. People have been talking about Rublev. There's Philip Kohlschreiber. There's a lot of talent. There's Milos Raonic. There's also, of course, Marin Cilic, who has been sort of letting down recently. But disappointing people, even though, of course, Roger Federer brought Marin Cilic famously to tears during the Wimbledon final. So I like Marin Cilic a lot. I think he's a great tennis player, and I think he's got a great personality, and I really hope he does well. He's up in Nadal's half of the draw, and he'll if he has to meet Nadal, it's going to be in the quarterfinals, and so that could be an epic quarterfinal if Marin Cilic is playing well. But make no mistake about it, Marin Cilic is capable of winning the entire tournament. He's got lots to prove because, again, he's been disappointing people lately and disappointing himself a lot lately. But, he was in the Wimbledon final, even though he did break down in tears. And there's a number of others. You've got Tsonga, who hasn't really impressed too much, but even someone like Kevin Anderson, he could pull off an upset here or there. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fantastic. You've also got David Goffin. I mean, it is a great field. I'm just hoping Stanimal is in animalistic form, because that could really throw a wrench into things. Right now, I'm kind of assuming that the Stanimal is not going to be 100%, and I'm even assuming that Djokovic is not going to be 100%. So we shall see what happens. I'm looking forward to talking more about it. I'm going to do daily tennis commentary, probably twice, maybe 3 times daily. I'm going to try to keep up with everything in the Australian. I want to hear your input. Best wishes. Let's do this. It's going to be a great next couple of weeks. Bye.